Good evening. It is Katie of the Night. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, the paranormal. Now, I did a quick search for any pre-existing paranormal tag, and I found one that I think was made by Graveyard Girl, but it seemed to just be exclusive to ghosts, and it seemed to be made for either investigators or experiencers. So I feel like I should preface this by saying I'm not an investigator and I am not an experiencer. I'm just a huge buff, paranormal buff. And not just ghosts, I'm interested in all fields within the paranormal. So I thought I would try a new take on the existing paranormal tag and broaden it to include various topics within the paranormal world, and I would also change the questions so they would apply to more than just researchers and experiencers. Paranormal refers to any creature, experience, action, or other phenomena that aren't normal. Basically, anything that can't be explained away by science or logic. That can include things like crop circles, Ouija boards, alien abductions, cattle mutilations, Bigfoot sightings, Dogman, fairies, ghosts, psychics, clairvoyance, and so much more. So for this new revised paranormal tag, I made 19 questions. So let's go ahead and get right to it. What are your thoughts on the paranormal? Do you believe? I love the paranormal world. Everything from the fields of spirituality to paranormal research. I love reading, listening, watching all types of paranormal media, but I am almost always kind of like 50% skeptic, 50% believer. It's a good thing to maintain a healthy level of skepticism in any sort of stories you hear or things you experience, and it also kind of helps explain things away if you're afraid to go to sleep at night. Question number 2, have you ever had an experience that you can't explain? Well, like I said in the beginning, I'm not an experiencer. I don't think I'm sensitive to the paranormal world, assuming it exists, and I don't have any sort of abilities, but I've had probably 3 experiences that I can't explain, and that's it. Still under question 2, what was your favorite paranormal experience if you have had one? I wouldn't say that I liked it, but there was one that I had in high school where there was a series of nights where I would hear screaming and banging and things like that, and it wasn't really scary to me at all, which sounds really weird, but it would keep me up at night. So some nights I would just have to get up and watch TV because this sound wouldn't let me sleep. Still under question 2, what was the scariest unexplainable / paranormal event you had? Well, that was probably the day that I played with a Ouija board. Question number 3, do you know anyone else personally that has had a paranormal, unexplainable experience? Yes, practically everybody I know. Question 4, have you always believed in the paranormal? I've really always enjoyed spooky stuff, so I've always had an affinity towards the paranormal. All the shows you watched as a kid, when they'd have that token scary episode, that was always my favorite episode. Like, you remember the show Wishbone? The Phantom of the Opera episode, the Sleepy Hollow episode, those were always my favorite. Remember that episode of Boy Meets World where there was a killer running loose in the school? That was my favorite. Question 5, have you ever investigated or pursued paranormal phenomena on purpose? Probably just once when I played with the Ouija board. I'm not an investigator. I don't know why, I'm just not really into that. Now, I like watching shows about it, some of them, but I've never done it myself. Question 6, what is your favorite phenomenon in the paranormal world? Well, I love the classic hauntings, haunted houses, ghosts. I really like cryptozoology, any sort of creatures like Bigfoot, Chupacabra, Dogman. I also like learning about the evil or malevolent behavior of spirits in buildings or houses. I also like almost everything that's really bizarre that has that high strangeness factor. I really like poltergeists and the idea that they are entities that are generated by our own unconscious mind. And I guess I'll have to stop there, but I pretty much like everything. Question 7. What do you think is the scariest paranormal phenomenon? Skinwalkers. Skinwalkers. For those of you that don't know about skinwalkers, just look it up. But the idea of something pursuing you while you're driving, especially when you're driving, you're supposed to feel the safest in that you can't have an intruder when you're driving on the road. You're basically kind of protected, but a lot of skinwalker encounters have involved the skinwalker running alongside the car, even if it's going 60 miles an hour. When I imagine that while I'm driving, it's just almost too much. And anything that is described as a humanoid really freaks me out. Maybe it's just that word freaks me out. But when people talk about seeing a humanoid creature in the woods or in their house or something, it's just... Number 8. What paranormal phenomenon are you pretty sure exists? That's kind of hard for me to answer because I feel like as researchers, people separate paranormal phenomenon into different categories when really they could all be a little bit more connected than we think, and connected in more ways than we are equipped to understand. But I definitely think that something is happening, although I'm not quite sure where one phenomenon might be more credible than another. Question 9. What paranormal phenomenon is hard for you to believe? My answer for this, I'm gonna say black-eyed kids, aka the BEK. Now, for a while, I was associating with them as just being like an internet-created sensation, kind of like Slender Man. But I did start listening to some interviews with David Weatherly. He's an author that did a lot of research on this phenomenon. And hearing so many stories about them kind of makes them a little bit more believable to me at this point, but I'm still not quite sure. They sound kind of ridiculous. Question 10. What paranormal phenomenon do you want to be real? I would probably say fairies. I know that they're not like Disney fairies. I know that there are good and bad fairies, but just the concept of fairies has always been really fascinating to me. Question 11. Do you have any superstitions or extra measures you take for maybe paranormal reasons? Someone recently told me that it's believed that if you turn all the shoes in your bedroom facing away from the bed, that will discourage sleep paralysis, aka the old hag experience. So I figured that sounds like it could be a thing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure all the shoes are turned away from my bed every night. I also read that in feng shui, it is bad to have a mirror facing you where you can see yourself when you're laying in the bed. And one of the reasons for that is when your soul leaves your body when you fall asleep, it can see itself in the mirror and it can startle it. And I thought that was kind of freaky, so I like to sleep in places where there's not a mirror looking at me when I fall asleep. Question 12. What are your thoughts on folkloric phenomenon like werewolves, vampires, zombies? Well, I try to keep an open mind because I have learned over the years that a lot of folklore is based in truth. Question 13. What are your thoughts on aliens? I am terrified of aliens. I like to write them off most of the time, like saying, oh, that person is lying, or oh, that person just imagined it. I guess that's part of the 50% skeptic in me. But in reality, I do believe that they definitely could exist. Question 14. What are your thoughts on ghosts? Well, the ghost phenomenon can be very predictable at times, but also very unpredictable at other times. And I've been listening to a lot of different theories lately about ghosts and what this actually could be. And lately I've been really enchanted by the idea that this plane of existence that we're on, this universe that we're in, is overlapped by layers of other similar universes. And sometimes we can see through the veil like it overlaps. So let's say we're in another universe, someone else lives in this house and they're walking around just doing their thing. But here in our universe, we can hear them sometimes walking through the house. It could not be a ghost actively trying to communicate with you. I guess it's kind of like the movie The Others in a way. Question 15. What are your thoughts on cryptids? Some researchers and scientists have suggested that these creatures, like Bigfoot, are not just biological creatures. They could also have a spiritual or interdimensional aspect to them. And I definitely think that that could be real, because that could explain how things can appear and disappear so fast, how we can't find very much evidence that these things are around. We mostly only have eyewitness accounts. And I really like that theory, but it's also frustrating because whatever is happening, it could quite possibly be more than we humans could ever figure out or understand. Question 16. What are your thoughts on psychic? I think there are definitely people all over the world who have abilities of varying degrees, but I also believe there are definitely fakes, and people should still maintain that healthy level of skepticism. Question 17. What are your thoughts on magic and the occult? I find all of this extremely interesting, although I've never been a practicer or even dabbled, but it seems like it requires a lot from within, and then a lot of your results occur within. Question 18. What are your thoughts on demons and angels? I don't know if it's as clear cut as this is definitely a demon and this is definitely an angel. I do think that there are non-human entities who can interact with us, who are bad, and then some who are good. Question 19. Math. 19. What is your favorite paranormal show, book, movie, or podcast? I have been all about podcasts lately. We have Mysterious Universe, Lore, Where Did the Road Go, Anything Ghost, Paranormal Podcast, Campfire, and The Brothers Mysterium. My favorite paranormal shows are The Dead Files, and I really love Paranormal Witness, even though it's a little bit Hollywood cheesy. Alright, and that's all the questions I came up with. Obviously, it's very hard to include everything that could be talked about in this topic, but I tried to get a little bit of everything. Please let me know if I forgot something, or if there's something that I should add or elaborate on or change. Obviously, I'm not an expert in any way. I'm just a fan. But I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to use this tag if you like. Good night and goodbye forever. You want to say anything about paranormals? Hey, babe.
Hey.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
You want to tell us about it sometime?
I will tell you about it sometime.
What's your favorite paranormal phenomenon? You like aliens?
I do like the aliens.
You like Bigfoot?
I like the aliens.
You like black-eyed kids?
No, I don't know if I believe in the black-eyed kids.
Black-eyed kids.
I almost said black-eyed peas. I don't believe in them either, though. They're terrible. But I did like those whispering people.
The whispering people, yeah.
I like those a lot. They're good.
Yeah, they might be the same thing as fairies. We don't know.
Maybe I'll see some on the Appalachian Trail.
Let's hope not. Okay, that's all for real. Goodbye forever.